Alright, we are going to keep going and getting through this. So next we're going to do the hi-hats. I'm going to try to do both of those at the same time. So I'm going to start them out both on the same track, and if I need to, I'm going to make a duplicate track and make some adjustments. So, see how it goes. So definitely don't want to add overdrive distortion to this one, but we are going to check out some reverb and some other steps that'll be a little bit similar. So let's check out both the closed hi-hat and the open hi-hat. So again, I'm going to set a little rhythm here. This is actually really good practice for when we try to make a beat with these sounds, because this is how you're going to be doing it. So glad I'm doing it this way. Alright, so I want to check my grid settings. Let's keep them at 1/16th note, and I'm going to shrink my hi-hat down a little bit. Let's see if I can make little just 16th note hi-hat samples. Cool. So that's between those two grid points, and I'm just going to keep clicking on these grid points and adding hi-hat notes. It looks like they're set to 16th notes at this point. Sometimes if you just keep pressing paste like this, you could end up not having your samples in line. So just make sure that you're always right on the grid. So I've got my closed hi-hat, so let's hear what that sounds like. Sounds pretty good. All right. So let's decide to put a couple of open hi-hat sounds in there too. So typically the way that hi-hats work is is either open or closed. In modern music production, it gets used like both ways. But for our example, we're going to try to see if we can have the open hi-hat stop when the closed hi-hat's playing. So the way to program that is find where you want the sample to go, shrink it down, and then just remove the closed hi-hat notes during that time, and see if you can get it so it's just right, cutting off when the first one stops, and then starting again at the next stop point. So let's check and see what that sounds like. Cool. It bleeds in a little bit, but overall not too bad. Maybe I could shorten it just a little bit. Yeah, that actually has a little bit more of that open close kind of sound. So I'm going to find another couple spots just to take out some closed hi-hat notes, add in an open hi-hat. Let's see what that sounds like. So I can, okay, cool, that sounds good. So I'm actually going to move these back up so they're all on the same line, and that way I can process them at the same time. So I'm going to press play on that. Cool. I'm going to delete this track just to clean things up a little bit. And I'm going to click the show instrument button, and we're going to start adding our effects. So for this, we're going to want to do EQ filter also. We're going to do the parametric EQ. Since these are all high frequency sounds, we're actually going to want to shave off a lot of the low frequency. So let's start with that. Let's see where it's even making a difference. So there's really not much low frequency content here. If I'm kind of moving this around, it's not having much of an effect on the sound at all. So I'm just going to shave that down. Yep, not too much of an effect. Our filtering before took care of that, but I'm still just going to set the low frequency all the way down. So let's check the mid frequency if there's... So that's really changing the sound a lot. I kind of like a little more of that tone. So what you kind of have to get used to is it's not going to sound great with the gain all the way up, but kind of think like something kind of like that tone might sound good or bad in the sound, and either add it or take it out. So we're going to do the same thing with the high frequency, and that really makes a big difference. There's a lot of high frequency content in that. And actually, kind of there sounds pretty good. So adding just a little bit of that, it's like really bringing out that metallic quality. So going from this to this, which really has a lot more of a metallic quality. So that's really cool. Let's try this compressor. See how that helps. I wouldn't want to compress this to the same degree that you would a kick sample. Let's do the compressor and volume. Generally, you don't need this sound to be too loud. Cool. So another thing you could add to make the sound just a little bit different is something called reverb. So there's a reverb knob right here. Hear that kind of sound. That's a really big stereo type reverb. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up what's called room, and this is just a few different types of reverbs. It's kind of like what you just heard. It's like putting your sound in a room. So we've got different types of room reverb. You can see here. What tends to work well on hi-hats is actually plate reverb. So plate reverb is one of the first kinds of reverb that they were able to create in the studio. There's actually like a big plate that would resonate based on the sounds that the musicians were playing, and they would hook, I guess, what are they called? It's kind of like how guitar works, how it can kind of like pickups, kind of like pickups on the plate, and then record that sound and mix it with the original sounds. That's your plate reverb. So we're going to do like a small plate reverb. Let's try adding just a little bit of that. You don't want to add too much because it's going to make it sound a little bit too boomy, and you might want to add more later. But I kind of like that. Just a little bit of extra length to it. A little bit more brightness. And if you wanted to, you could add a lot. It's kind of up to you and what kind of music you want to make. So I'm going to leave it right there. I think I like that. And I feel like I could keep both of those processed exactly the same, and it's not going to make a difference to me. So what I am going to do is I'm going to duplicate the track and have just two different lines. Because for my open hi-hat, I don't want it to still be short like that. I still want to get the full sample. So I'm just going to move this over here to the start. You can see my processing is all still exactly the same. I'm going to have just one sample here for the closed hi-hat. Turn off the loop bar and just record the sounds the same way I did before. But this time I'm going to make sure that this is muted. So we're just doing one at a time, just like that. And save capture. So one way I like to abbreviate closed hi-hat is just CH. So I'm going to call this CH 2.0. And save. There you go. So then you're going to do the same thing. Just mute your closed hi-hat, unmute your open hi-hat, Chrome audio capture again, same exact way. And for an open hi-hat, I usually abbreviate that as OH, so OH 2.0. All right. one left to process is the snare drum. Again, the step that I'm not showing after this is when you need to re-import it back into Twisted Wave, chop it again, and then you'll have your usable sample. You're gonna just follow the exact same process as the other tutorial. It's just with your new sample. So, I think that's it. See you next time.